What it Scooby-Dooby-Doo, everyone, it's Tommy. Don't ask where I've been, because let's be honest, you don't care. I've spent about a week with the new patch, and I definitely have some opinions that I would like to share about it. But first things first, if you haven't already discovered this, I've swapped over from YouTube to Twitch when it comes to streaming, even though I said I never would. I know, and I still think Dan Clancy's a horrible CEO that should a giant bag of... But I just think Twitch offers a better experience for the viewer, that's you. So that's my decision, and I'm sticking to it. So go follow me over on Twitch. We've already reached affiliate status and have custom emotes for subs and everything. So let's get into the new patch. First of all, what happened to Legacy? I looked away for like a couple weeks and it's already gone again? I put on a suit for this shit. Moment of silence for the old map. You will not be missed, you are garbage. All right.
But Tommy, no one played Legacy.
No one played Legacy because people were having to choose between Legacy and Ranked, and people wanted something to grind for. Do I have access to back-end user data proving this? No. But that's basically why all my friends said that they stopped playing Legacy. Legacy should have just been its own Ranked mode by default, with no quick play option to not split the player base. I feel like it would have retained way more players if that was the case. All I know is, I loved it. Let me know what you thought about Legacy in the comments. I'm so legitimately curious on y'all's opinion. So with that out of the way, with a new big patch comes a new big hero, and so we were gifted with Akeron. I love this guy. He's a little clunky and his hitbox is massive, so good luck dodging just about anything, but I think he's a lot of fun. I definitely prefer him in the jungle than to lane, just because he has some matchups that he loses so hard by default that it can feel pretty awful, but I've seen him work in lane. My current build in the jungle is Earthshaker into Tyranny, followed by more or less just focusing on survivability because you're going to be hit with just about, everything. Another interesting thing about Akeron is that he seems pretty balanced actually. Most new heroes are pretty strong on release, but he seems to be more or less in a perfect spot balance-wise. If I had to put him on a tier list, he'd go in B tier. B for Akeron. Speaking of backs, let's talk about these back timer changes. Actually first, I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about some of the overarching issues that have been plaguing the game for a while, and cover them all at once. I covered some of them in this video here, so I'll try not to talk about the same things over again, but there will be a little overlap as necessary. I think it's important to talk about these things as part of the patch discussion. And hey, real quick, I know most of you aren't subscribed, so go ahead and hit that button right now. It is free, and I will continue to make videos every once in a while. That's the only promise I'll make you. Alright, so the way I see it, the community sentiment is thus. The map is too small, the rotations are too quick, and the snowball factor is too large. Although every game is technically comebackable, Predecessor makes it very hard to do so just because of how much it hamstrings the losing team. To an extent, that makes sense, right? Losing teams lose. But the problem is, when the snowball kicks in as early as it does in Pred, it makes the games feel like a slog because it feels like you already know who's going to win really early. This is why so many games will end in a forfeit or multiple AFKs or DCs. People rage when they know they can't win. So how do we combat these problems? Let's look at some of the changes that Omida has decided to make in lieu of all of this community sentiment that the game is just too one-sided. Let's go all the way back to teleporters. Omida decided to port in the very worst feature of Overprime, and I think enough time has gone by that we can say that they have actively made the game worse. Here's why. Let's say you're an offlaner and your team is grouping for Fang. Do you have to make the macro decision between splitting or catching a wave, or committing to Fang with your team? No, you can do both. Do you have to commit to a surprise gank and potentially let your enemy laner take some plates or your tower? No. You just go gank and then take the teleporter back to your lane. Obviously, you still have to consider the cooldown of the teleporters, but if you can coin flip a play like that and get your team ahead without losing anything for it, then the snowball factor can usually take care of the rest. Teleporters are just bad for the game. Moving on, A while back, Omida made it a lot easier to take jungle camps, which was intended to allow some junglers with slower clear speeds to keep up with the rest. But it actually just kind of made the jungling part of being a jungler obsolete, aside from being there to smite major objectives. The speed at which you can clear your entire jungle is so ridiculously fast that there is almost no downside to just perma-ganking whatever lane you're closest to at any point in time, and with the size of the map, that could be just about any of them. Making your laners feel constantly rotated on by junglers and other lanes is frustrating and obnoxious. And once again, if you ever fall behind, constantly being rotated on makes the snowball effect even worse. Another thing that has happened multiple times is the increase in hero move speed across the board. Once again, a small map with fast movement means other people are going to come to your lane constantly with very little punishment. If you can play Argus and shove mid in 3 seconds, then run duo and gank and go back before the enemy mid wave even reaches the river, it's a problem. So far, I've just been trying to establish context on decisions that Omida has made regarding the issues that were brought up before. Now we have a new patch, so let's break down the changes they've made here with this one. First of all, the back timers that we were talking about before are now shorter by 2 seconds. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it can make or break whether or not you get a wave under tower before your enemy laner returns, and that's huge. It also makes it harder to punish people who stick around for a greedy push or an objective or something like that, and that's also huge. It's just more snowball, a completely backwards change that actively makes the game worse. And then we have the new objectives, the Seedlings and the Shaper. The Seedlings, even though the rewards are small, are also just more snowball. What is the point of this? Why does Omida keep shooting themselves in the foot with these changes? It's not providing a new exciting gameplay experience, it's just punishing the losing team more. And their placement on the map just seems so haphazard and ill thought out that it feels cluttered and clunky. When it comes to the Shaper, say it with me now, it's just more snowball. But this is even worse. When you kill it, it spawns a seedling in each lane with your minion wave. They aren't that strong, but they will push in all the lanes when they aren't responded to. What this does is force people to respond to those lanes or face pressure to all of their towers, while your team can focus on the next objective like Fang or Orb or both. Either the entire enemy team comes to contest the objective, or all of their lanes get shoved in. So if the enemy team loses Shaper and one objective, that essentially means that your team just secured the third objective too, as well as some towers or at least tower damage. I believe the idea behind this addition to the game is that Omida felt like games were taking too long to be closed out, to be ended, right? So they set up a system where the game would just basically end itself for you. You know, you get this objective, and then you get this objective, and then you get this objective, right? Personally, I'm of the belief that if teams struggle to close out games, it's a skill issue. And creating another game mechanic that more or less forces the game to end is not the right way to go about solving that issue. The other thing that happens when the first Shaper is killed is that it triggers a world shift, wherein new pathways are opened up around the map. Is it cool as hell? Yes. But remember how the map was already really small and too easy to get around? It just got even easier to get around.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
These new pathways just make it easier for the winning team to rotate to and dominate every area of the game. I can't help but think that someone at Omida is just saying in meetings, "Oh, you know what would be cool?" And no one is telling them why it's a bad idea. And whoever that person is, plays a lot of League of Legends. Dude, we should make Pantheon and Predecessor. Dude, we need Warwick. Dude, League has runes, we should definitely add runes. Dude, League's map changes mid-game, we should do that. Dude, League has all these plants in the jungle that give you stuff, we should do that. Dude, League just added a third major objective called Akeron, he's like a demon lord, we should do that. But we can't call the new objective Akeron, but what if we made a new hero and he was a demon lord like Akeron, but we called him Akeron? Do you think we could get away with that? We could totally get away with that. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Anyway, as for the rest of the patch, I'm not touching on balance. Go sub to Goon's Cove or someone smarter than me for that. What else though? I don't like these little orange icons that don't go away. We definitely have to get rid of that. It bothers me immensely. I really don't like how when you open a core, you are immediately prompted to buy more. We gotta fix that because it's just slimy as hell. Also, believe it or not, even as the Gooner skins enjoyer that I am, changing Shimby's entire character model for a skin does strike me as a little bit weird. So maybe we, I don't know, maybe we don't do that anymore, Mr. Brush. Anyway, that's the patch. I don't know how to end videos. Goodbye!